I'm so excited today. Today we have with us Nicholas Adler. Uh, and instead of introducing him, I would prefer that he introduce himself because he's such a influential figure in the metaverse and NFT space as well. Nick, hi, how are you?
Hey, how are you?
Hi. Why don't you introduce yourself to the audience a little bit because that we have like a really big audience today, and some of them might not be really deep into this metaverse like I do, so they probably might not have heard about you.
No, absolutely. Happy to. Um, my name's Nick Adler. I've most notably known for working with Snoop Dogg. My background is I started out in doing television and producing television shows, and I got to know Snoop on a television series about his family. And when I met him, I started to. This was around 15 years ago, and I started to work on his branding and his endorsement deals. And that naturally led to working in early tech investing, social media. I helped him really establish his social media presence, and and then as time went by, started a creative agency and started to work with brands to sort of lend some of the experience and knowledge that I had from the music space to working with big brands. Spent a long time doing a lot of his branding endorsements, sold Snoop to Adidas and Pepsi and a lot of big brands, endorsement stuff like that. And then more recently, when I saw Web3 happening, NFTs in the metaverse, my my brain exploded, like I think a lot of us are going through. And I decided to just go all in and really focus on it. So for the last year, obviously I still have a day job, which was a lot of my day, but now is a lot less of my day. And I'm really digging into Snoop's presence in the metaverse. And there's other artists I work with as well, but Snoop is a huge part of that, and we've been having a blast. This is such an exciting time.
I know. And I think that happens to everyone that they started off in the metaverse and be like, oh, this is like just kind of something I'm interested in. And then they have like their day job and stuff. And then the metaverse just become bigger and bigger part of their day. So that happens to a lot of people in crypto and metaverse space. So from your point of view, what exactly is a metaverse? Because you said like Snoop Dogg and you are going deeper and deeper into the metaverse area. And since it's such a new concept, maybe we should define it more clearly on what you and Snoop are looking to get into.
Yeah, and look, that's a good question because I generally change what I'm referring to. Sometimes it's the metaverse, sometimes it's Web3, sometimes it's blockchain, right? But the way that I perceive it is we're taking our digital assets and our digital footprint and we are reclaiming them, and we're trying to essentially figure out new and creative ways to experience the world of Snoop Dogg on the blockchain. So the metaverse, is a very broad word to me. I think it's yet to be defined. I think that we're looking across multiple platforms, and we'll be creating lifelike experiences where you can engage with him in certain places, and you'll be engaging with his music in other places, and you'll be in the future, maybe experiencing a one-on-one, discussion with him. So to me, the metaverse is still very, very, very broad. And my kind of goal right now is to find as many of these digital experiences within that metaverse that I can align him with, and either create deals with them, sell NFTs in them, or build some of our own experiences from the ground up.
That's fascinating. That's really fascinating. And this goes really well with the earlier session as well, because Jinha was talking about how, the metaverse could enhance the way that artists could connect to their fans, right? It's like more immersive and more connected in many more ways than just clicking like buttons. And that's fascinating. What do you see as the investment trends coming from this though? Like, what are the investment trends that you are looking at as far as like entertainment industry and celebrities have to think about when it comes to the metaverse technology?
Yeah. So, for me, it's about things that are actionable and things that we can immediately play with and engage with. In terms of investment opportunities, I think there's a lot. I think you can invest in a number of things, and some things that we will invest in will have nothing to do with Snoop. But the things that have been more obvious are things like the sandbox, right? When I saw the sandbox, it was it was a very simple. I understood it very quickly because Roblox, Minecraft, all these games that I've played with, that my kids play with, I quickly understood, why people like them. But when I saw that you could own the assets within the sandbox, the real estate, the avatars, the swords, the gameplay activities, that got me really excited. So that's when I started to think about how can we build a Snoop verse within the sandbox. That naturally led to say, well, if we're going to work within them, we'd like to also invest in the sandbox. So I think a lot of the gaming experiences right now are really interesting to us as investments. Obviously, music. I think music is an incredible is being disrupted by the blockchain, but in a really exciting way for rights holders and creators. Having come from the music industry, I've seen a lot of music technology in my career, and normally I sort of I don't like it. I usually pass it off, but because I know what's under the hood, But now that I've experienced selling music and building music and creating new ways of ownership and new ways of experiencing music, I got so excited. So music investments are really exciting. There's a company called Sound.xyz that I think is really very cool and showed me how you can think about music differently. Other things that are interesting are wearables, digital wearable companies. How can you use augmented reality filters to wear the wearables? How can you track, maybe I create a vintage t-shirt that is in real life, but I want to give that one of one vintage t-shirt to a fan in the metaverse. And, we mint that t-shirt. So these are the types of companies that I'm investing in and that are getting me really excited. So I mean, there's a list of them I could name, but those are the types of companies.
Mm-hmm. That's really fascinating. So you said your investment trend needs to be actionable, right? And obviously, Web3 ability for the creators and the communities to own what they create is like such a huge part of the metaverse and NFT technology. So how much of that actually influenced your and Snoop decision in purchasing Death Row Records? Because that's such a monumental move in music.
No, well, you know what? I'll be very honest about that. It's so exciting. Like timing is everything, right? Timing is everything. And he's wanted to purchase Death Row for, forever. That was a dream. As a lot of big artists are selling off their publishing rights and their music rights, it's very off trend to go and buy back your catalog. Now, I would be lying to say that it was all intentional, that it was bought back because of Web3, but it really was something that came together because of some successful deals we had in Web3 that it helped us get the liquidity to purchase it. But he just felt really, it was important to own this stuff. And now this whole new pathways opening up to Web3 and ways to sell the music. So it wasn't intentional, but it's exciting. And it's just incredible that it's all lining up this way. And now that we have it, he's spending hours and hours and hours in the studio figuring out ways to release the music, ways to put it into games, ways to give ownership over music that you've never truly had. He released a mixtape over the last week on OpenSea, and he gave people who bought that music the licensing and exploitation rights so they could buy it, remix it, and license it, which is really truly Web3. He's not participating in the future revenue off of it. It's all for the consumer to own. And since they've purchased it, we've heard a number of amazing remixes that they've produced. So, this is just the beginning.
Mhm. And this I think goes to show how far ahead of the time you and Snoop are. Because like you were thinking about creators and musicians should be the one owning, the records right from the start. It's just that, for some other reasons, it was hard to do it until Web3 and Metaverse and NFTs come around. Um, and that's really cool. So we start seeing other celebrities obviously jumping into this space as well. We see like Snoop Dogg, we see Paris Hilton, we see like Jake Paul coming up with their own brands in the virtual worlds. But what are the drawbacks or the benefits of being in the metaverse compared to the traditional way for a celebrity to manage their brand?
Yeah, I mean, so I think the benefits are we're just scratching the surface of the benefits. There's so many exciting things that can be done. And I think you brought up the point of ownership. And first of all, for so many years, the music business and a number of digital businesses have established how, you are able to sell your own product and how little of that product you actually can profit off of. How much of it is essentially owned by the record labels, the Spotify's, and by the time it gets back to the artist, it's pennies. Now, all of a sudden, the artist can own this, put it on the blockchain, and share that ownership and give pieces of that ownership to the consumer, to their point. So that's a tremendous benefit. What are the downfalls? Or I think that it's so much happening at once that, we haven't quite figured out yet the accounting of these things, the distribution of these things. One of the things that I've really noticed with Web3 is that we're selling something. It's almost like we're selling things that the technology isn't even ready yet, isn't even built for. So if you think a lot of these gaming assets or even these music assets, they look beautiful. Like you can go to a marketplace and buy an amazing NFT that's beautifully designed and 3D rendered. But the promise that NFT, like the playability in the metaverse, is not built yet and may not be built for several years. So there's a little bit of an expectation from the consumer that I worry like that people will, essentially, and again, with NFTs, we've seen this, like people are buying things on an expectation that they may not get and receive. Some people may rug them and never deliver on. Other things may take a long time. So that's one of the things that I think, we have to be cautious of, is that the faster we enter the space and the more things we build, we have to make sure to deliver the community who's purchasing them. Because, this is all about finance and transactions, and people get very excited. But when you're spending your own money on things, you have an expectation and you want to deliver it. And I find that the Twitter and Web3 kind of community gets excited, but can turn very quickly, and it can become it can become contentious.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree with you here. Like a lot of people jump into the metaverse hearing all these exciting talks, whether from SCP-10X, from Snoop, from you, and then they thought like the whole thing is already ironed out, and they're gonna get this like full immersive, fantastic experience on day one. This just goes to show how early we are in the process of discovering and leveraging this technology to actually create an immersive experience for the fans, right? So fantastic point. And this goes with Web3 and, decentralized finance and all of that as well. So we are in the same boat in some ways.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. And you mentioned a little bit about the activities that Snoop and you are doing as far as bringing the Snoop Dogg experiences into the metaverse. Can you go into more details about that? Because I know at least in the sandbox you have like mansion, like Snoop Dogg mansion plan, and then you have like cars and rides and virtual concerts. Like those are so exciting. Can you give us a little bit more details on what can the fan expect to see in the near future, and what kind of interactions can we do with all these experiences?
Absolutely. And I'll tell you that there's an important lesson. I think you brought up a good point before about it. And I wanted to just highlight one thing is that one of the most important things that we've learned with our experiences so far is that you have to show this. If you're a Snoop Dogg or you're a celebrity like that, you really need to show this community that you're here for the long run, right?
Mm.
So our journey has been a very interesting journey, and I'll give you a little bit of the journey to get to where we're going in terms of what's next, right? But the journey is something where we jumped in almost a year ago, and we did our first auction of NFT assets with Crypto.com. Now, at the time, Crypto.com was relatively unknown. It was a very big exchange doing a number of transactions. But again, I'm not sure internationally, but in the US, they now own or they have their name across some of the biggest stadiums in the world. And there's the Matt Damon television commercial and the LeBron James television commercial. And they've spent tons of money to get that consumer awareness. When we worked with them, they were relatively unknown. So we took a chance to work with an unknown marketplace, but we knew that they had a lot of consumers. So we went out and we created our first series of NFTs. It was a very cool and lucrative drop, but it didn't resonate with the community. There was a lot of pushback to say, you could have done better. But the reason that I did it was because I wanted to sort of try something new. After we did that, we then started to work with sort of like more established artists, NFT artists, and things like that. And we created a series of collaborations. We did a collab with the Neon Cat meme, which did really well and was very collected. And then we did a one of one with an artist named Coldy that sold at Art Basel and was bought by a huge collector. And then we went and did our Sandbox collaboration, and we announced our land sale. We built out a mansion, and we sold a ticket, which allows fans to participate in a upcoming live stream where Snoop will perform. But we're working on the visuals to make it something spectacular, like you would see with, Travis Scott in the Fortnite. And also we launched 10,000 avatars called the Doggies, which sold out and are being collected. And tomorrow you'll get to actually play with the Doggies in the Sandbox Alpha. And the beauty of it is Sand is a top 30 traded token, market cap, top 30 market cap token. You'll actually be able to earn Sand. So, we're not doing a big PR announcement around it. This is you're one of the early people to know, but we think after we do that, there'll be a lot of conversation about it. And then with music, we're also thinking about gaming and Gala Games, which is an amazing blockchain publisher of games, buying a number of AAA games. We're doing a big collaboration with them around the Death Row brand, where you can buy music, and that music will give you access to certain features in games, give you power, and that community of Gala is really strong. So we're excited about that. So, and then in terms of his own output, he's just making music and putting that music out directly on the blockchain and establishing that music. Sorry, my kid just walked in. And establishing that music for sale directly on the blockchain and selling it like that. Sorry.
Hey there. Your biggest influencer for investing in Sandbox.
Exactly.
Right. And that's so funny because like I talk to a lot of parents, and they actually get the concept of like NFT ownership of the assets earlier than some of the adults without kids do, because they have seen their kids wanting to spend money on Minecraft and Roblox, and that's just fascinating to me. Yeah. So except outside of the metaverse and NFT area, like what other areas of Web3 are you looking for your clients in the entertainment industry? Like any other areas of Web3 that you are looking into?
Outside of Web3 or
Outside of metaverse and NFT,
outside of
like
metaverse?
are you looking into any of those, like decentralized finance? Because that could have a lot of applications
Yeah,
for the entertainment industry as well.
yeah. So it's a great question, really great question. So I think one thing that I take lessons from the past, but one of the things that we've experienced in the past was in 2000 and maybe 11 or 2012, most agencies and management companies realized they needed to hire a social media manager and somebody who could oversee Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and all those things. Now I feel as though I need to hire an economist and a accountant and a analyst. It's because of the idea of having direct access to the money and what happens with that money, or those tokens, sorry, and what happens with those tokens, and where you stake those tokens, and where you trade those tokens, and where you swap those tokens, and the speed at which we're able to earn those tokens. We have to be really smart with that. So yes, 100% looking into DeFi, but that's very difficult, and it's something that you need experts on hand. So the biggest thing that I'm actually looking for is people who know that, and people who are part of the team who can be experts in those fields, right? Because we can only do so much. I'm very good at the entertainment exploitation and the investing in innovative technology. I can invest in the in DeFi platforms or things like that, but in terms of actually engaging with them, we need people who are experts in those platforms. But to your point, DeFi is really interesting to us. Just actually just like the actual products, like wallets and where you keep your assets, whether they're music assets or gaming assets or art assets. Companies like that are interesting to us. So the picks and shovels of the industry, as well as I'm trying to think some of the other things that have across our MoonPay, for example, which is something that we've invested in with on-ramping. And MoonPay has done a really great job of both being a B2B product, but also figuring out how to use the marketing through influencers and celebrities in the way that I'm not sure if you saw how MoonPay was buying Bored Apes for celebrities. Mm-hmm. We engaged with MoonPay. MoonPay helped gift us an ape. So all of or not gift, we transacted through their concierge. So things like that. Sorry about my kid.
He's gonna get exposed to
He's
the whole thing so young. Yeah, eventually he's gonna be like, oh, don't give me dollars, give me Bitcoin, or give me Ethereum.
Exactly.
Start paying him on chain. Yeah, like Christmas gift on chain or something.
Exactly.
Have you done that with your family? Like, how do you? I'm going off script here. I'm gonna get yelled at for sure. But how do you expose your young children to the concept of metaverse and NFT? Because I feel like that's such a hard concept to grasp at such a young age.
Well, it's so funny, right? Because if you think about it, half of the stuff that we're doing involves the sandbox, right? Which is such a simple product and so youthful. So I take lessons from them. This is not a joke. I was in my kid's room the other day and there was a Minecraft magazine on his bed. And I opened it up, and normally I would discard that magazine. But because I'm working with developers and designers who are working to voxel, create voxel characters or voxel assets, I started to flip through the book. And I almost brought me back to my childhood in the sense of playing games as a kid. And I started to look at these things, whether they were bicycles made of voxels or or what else was there? Animals. And I realized that it was inspiration to me. So I've learned a lot from them about how to apply to this world. And I think they overhear me in the car talking on the phone about Ethereum and MetaMask and all these things, and I hear them reference it, and I find it really funny. And then I would say the other thing that's interesting is that I've thought a lot about how do you how do you set up the wallet to how do you set up the wallet to benefit them, so to speak.
Yeah, and I feel like that's such a difference between our generations that, we started off our computer gaming experience with just like single players or at most like multiplayer with probably our siblings. But for them, they start off their gaming experience with a community right from the start, right? On Minecraft, you can have like hundreds of people just like building up the same kind of structure. And that's just like very fascinating. All right. So last quick question because we're running out of time very soon here. So from your point of view, will celebrities like Snoop and other celebrities stick to a few selected metaverses, or they just gonna, or is it more beneficial to them to be present in all the metaverses?
I mean, that's a good question. I think about it a lot. No, I think this is something that almost like it's almost something that if you're early, you're able to experience a lot. I do think that metaverses will come out, or digital experience will come out and try to create more exclusive relationships with talent. Now, I think that's very unfortunate. And I think the talent who signs those exclusive deals will regret it ultimately. However, the platforms that are great, will attract more and more talent, and more talent will spend more and more time in those platforms. So I love it right now because it's so new and so fresh, and we can work across multiple places, and we can try anything. We are respectful of our partners, though. So if I'm in a sandbox, it's unlikely I'm going to go to another voxel experience metaverse. However, I don't want to feel that I have to be there, because if something else emerges, I want to be able to go and do that. So it's a great question. Some artists will, some won't. Hopefully, we will try not to.
All right, sounds good. Thank you so much, Nick. We ran out of time today, and it's been a pleasure talking to you. And hopefully, I'll see you around for our next event.
Yeah. And anyone, feel free to reach out to me on social. Nicky Ads. Good to meet everybody. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.